Hey guys, welcome back. This is Art of the Funny Girl podcast.
Hey,
I'm Raina.
I'm Lo. It's good to see y'all.
Good to see you guys.
I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everyone's week is going well. I hope the Lord has been present in your life. You felt His hand on you. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. Raina, you look cute.
Thank you. Let me tell y'all, I didn't touch on this.
What?
But I have a store that I frequent. Okay.
Oh, bless.
And this particular store, somebody blessed me because it's the GW. If you know what the GW is, let me know. Okay?
The GW.
And I moseyed in there.
George Washington.
Yeah, the George Washington Carver. I moseyed in there and I went to the dress section. I started in the dress section. And then in my size, it was some pieces.
Yeah.
And the pieces had tags on them.
Brand new.
And brand new stuff. Good stuff. Name brand stuff. I said, okay, whoever did this, thank you. I go to the skirt section. Same size.
Skirts. Tags. Brand new. The Lord's going to bless them tenfold.
I said, okay. I go to the shirt. Same size. I said, oh, this is one person that offloaded this stuff. And God put me at the right place at the right time so I could be blessed.
Don't you love black people? We always...
Oh, He blessed me. God, I had no business in there. I had nothing to do in there. I just went in there.
If you get a good parking spot, the Lord done did
saw
today.
Fit
to bless me with
this stuff.
And God's up there like, excuse me.
Because I honored Him with my budget.
And so now you got a parking spot.
Well, I honored Him with my budget. Sense. So I went to the GW instead of going somewhere else. And He said, you honored me with your budget. So now I gave you stuff
brand new. You can shout right there. You can put the shout right
Y'all
on
put the jowls. Put the music in it.
Y'all, I just want to say that there have been so many, as we talked about before, so many life transitions in our like hiatus, if you will. And on top of having additional kids, and I got married, Lindsay is about to get married, or Raina, excuse me. You know, I slipped up. Yeah. You know, her stage
my first name is
Raina.
Lindsay, guys. It's okay. It's all right.
I never really...
Not my stage name.
Her stage name.
Raina is still my name. It's just my middle name.
But it's your stage name.
Yeah. But no, it's not Whoopi Goldberg. That's a completely made up. Yeah, right.
But I call her Lindsay, I call her Raina. I go in and out. Because Greg calls her Raina, so I'd be like, oh, Raina. So then that got me into saying it. But anyways, on top of that, you have a lot of career changes and transitions and things like that. And so I mentioned before that I used to be flight attendant, if you didn't know, for 6 years. I took a little bit of time off having August.
Yep.
When August, I had August. As soon as I found out I was pregnant with August, I went out. And I was like 7 weeks. And so I was able to go out on maternity leave. And then where I was working, the airline that I was with, they give you a year of bonding leave, but it is unpaid. And so I did the 1 year. But then when I went back and he was a year, it was just so taxing and challenging. And also I felt like people changed during COVID, and the same people, the passengers that I used to love and, used to have fun with. I used to fly to Hawaii and, be chatting it up.
Now they on to just
everybody
they
was
want
just,
their peanuts.
On the edge. I remember one man, he walked by his sleep and he was like, if that damn cart, pardon my language, makes another sound, I'm just gonna lose it.
I think flying after COVID was like everybody was in a high state of anxiety.
For sure. But even in general, like I think people were just so frustrated with where they were in their life and different things. They were bringing that energy on the plane, and it just was not enjoyable for me. And also, let's just keep it real. I knew that wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Right.
And God gave me the grace to be there for that long, to have the flight benefits and to go all over the world with my family and all of that. And so it was just time to leave, essentially. And so I went into content creation and being an influencer full time, and that has been amazing. I've gone on brand trips with different brands. I've gone to LA to do a photo shoot for a brand. Like, I've done some amazing things, and it really aligns with like my passions. However, there was a point where I said, okay, I think I need to go back into the traditional work space, because I was like, okay, it'll add additional income. And
was it a fear-based decision, or did you think you were thinking smart?
I thought it was a wise move, because I was like, all right, we'll get more income in addition to, the income from being a content creator. And I'll just say this, please, please, please support your content creators and influencers,
and it's so
even us, and making sure that you're subscribing to your favorite creators and things like that, because the money in it there is a lot of money in it. However, it is not as frequent as it is on a regular job, right?
It's not every 2 weeks you got a direct deposit.
Exactly.
You know, you got to kind of get it how
sometimes
you
you on a net 30, you want a net. I don't even do net 60. I try to avoid net 60. Somebody hit me with a net 90. I said, excuse me?
Pardon? No,
that would absolutely not be the case.
Yeah.
So I think that, being in that space, I was like, let me get something more stable. And in addition to that, operate as an entrepreneur. Because entrepreneurship, as much as people try to glorify it, it is challenging. It has its challenges.
Yeah.
And you have to sow the money that you make back into your business. Whether it's buying equipment, buying product, investing in resources, people that can help you.
Yep.
That is money that you're shelling out. And so I was like, let me go and get this other job. And so I just want to say, I see all the videos of people, of creators like Corporate Aaron and DeAndre Brown and, really poking fun at the corporate life because it's so daunting and it's so toxic.
Yeah.
But it's nothing compared to when you go in it.
Yeah.
I did that and I learned that the hard way. I asked God to provide me with an opportunity and I accepted the opportunity, and I should have known from the jump that it was challenging because the interview process and everything that I had to go through to get the job, it was just not giving. Like, it was really giving high stress at that time. But I've been out of the job market. So I'm thinking like
maybe things have just changed.
Yeah, I'm thinking like this is just the way it is. Like this is just how it goes. However, it was like stress. Like I had to put together a presentation, and I actually called Miles, Giles's brother, and I was like, yo, Miles, like, did you have to do this? And if so, like, what is it? It was all of these things, right? Before I even got the job. But one clear-cut sign was that they could never really tell me exactly what I was going to be doing. Like, it was always like, well, you're going to be doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It was never, and Greg would always be like, well, what are you going to be doing? Like, what are you going to be even working on? But nevertheless, I took this job, you guys, in the last 4 months. I took it October, November, December, January. 4 months I was there. Y'all, I quit and got fired in the same day. How you quit and get fired in the same day? I was like, I knew it was coming. I felt it was coming. And the environment was just not for me. Not only was the environment not for me, the people there were not for me. We talk about hateration and just like when people give you energy that they really don't like you, they really don't care for you being there, whatever. That's exactly what it gave. But imagine that every single day. Every single day I was dealing with this, and I felt like the lowest I had ever felt. Like, I remember, like, Jace coming home, and she told Greg, like, Mommy said she hates her job. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, Jace, cut to the chase, blowing the spot up. But I just wanted to, like, how do you guys feel? Like, are you all in the corporate space? Are you in a place where you're like, all right, this job is toxic. This job is draining me. I am a person, right? I'm big on my peace. And I feel like I've had to fight. We both, you know what I'm saying? Like, you've had to fight through like situations to reclaim your peace. And also I've been trying to put together my nervous system again. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you go through something as traumatic as your parent having a terminal illness, and then you're caring for that parent, and then 7 months later they die, and then you bury them, and then you come home and you try to get your bearings, get your life together, and then you go into a pandemic. The nervous system is shot. It's shot. So then you take all of that.
A low tolerance.
Yeah, man. I think you do. You really, really
I left the corporate world back in 2022 in August, but it took me having Emory to realize this is not the environment that's going to allow me to thrive, because I was in a world where nobody looked like me, number one. Yeah. And nobody had families that they were rushing home to. Like, that was their life. Yeah. So they felt like it should have been my life. Right. And becoming like a new mom, and, it was coming up on her first shots or 2 month shots, and like trying to get time off and things like that. And they're like, you don't have anybody else that could possibly take her. It's like what? The audacity, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're speaking two totally different languages. Yeah. And although I was a hard worker and I excelled fairly quickly, it just showed me that like I'm pushing myself to a place that I can't sustain. Yeah. And I've created like an expectation of myself that doesn't give me any allowances for, like, they're not going to allow me to take a break. Right. They would schedule me. I was just coming back from maternity leave. They would schedule me like 12 days in a row. It was crazy. It's so interesting because I felt like, and I know a lot of people can probably relate to this, when it's your dream and you're throwing everything at your dream, it's different than when you are in a toxic environment and you're working for somebody else's dream.
Yeah, and you're trying to show up as your best or whatever. And I know as a collective, I saw this video on TikTok and somebody was like, why are we still giving our best at our job?
Why are we?
On?
We got to just do what's on the
syllabus
and
what's
go
on
home. The syllabus.
And go home.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
However, and I wouldn't even say it's not like, I was a stellar worker or whatever case. I was new. So I was trying to learn and I was also trying to grow and participate at the same time. But you're literally in corporate America. It's so accelerated. You're not given any space to grow or to learn or to navigate what's going on. And on top of that, you have people in that environment that really don't want to support you or see you succeed.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think I had been out of that world. I don't even dance in that world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even dibble in that. So it was so shocking to me to be in it. And I would call Kirk, who's my mentor, and I'd be like, yo, is this normal? He's like, yes, Laurel, it's very normal. Like, you're not the only person that has ever, this is what people are dealing with every day, which is why people say, I'm ready to leave corporate.
I dealt with
it. And I'm like, yo, but the most jarring thing to me, you guys, and I got to really zoom in when I say this, it hurt me the most when it's Black people that's cutting you down, right? Because you expect maybe to have some adversity from people that do not look like you. But I think whoever said this said it best. Everybody that's skin folk ain't kinfolk. And that was my, like, I was like so stunned to find that out, because normally it's like you see other Black people and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna look out for you. Even older Black women that's going to take you under their wing and be like, all right, cool, like this is how you do this, this, and this. That wasn't the case. And there were moments where I thought it was the case. And so I think that's what hurt me the most. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought that y'all had my back. Like, I thought that it was like, okay, you know, and the best way I can describe it, watch The Other Black Girl on Hulu. The first 2 episodes of The Other Black Girl on Hulu, I watched it the day that I got let go from that job. And I got let go. I said I quit and I got fired in the same day because I knew that they were going to try to fire me. And so I had already had my resignation letter. Giles was here. I was trying to beat them to the punch because I was like, I feel that they're going to fire me.
Yeah.
And I want to submit my letter to tell my truth. Like, hey, wait a minute. This is a toxic environment. It's not that I just came here and I have a poor work ethic or any of whatever they're trying to say is not the truth, guys. I didn't like R. Kelly. I didn't do this stuff.
This is a hog time, people.
Yeah, like what? Time. Like, no, like this job is a wreck. Like, you guys need to do an investigation on what's going on.
Get
like,
the DA on the
you
phone.
Gotta get some internal affairs over here to figure out what's
not the
going
IAB.
On. Get the IAB over here and the MIB, the men in black. And figure out what's going on.
Not the Men in Black.
You know what I mean? And so I ended up submitting my letter, and they were so angry. Like, the girl that helped me get the job, she called me and she's like, Laurel, they're so mad that you wrote this letter, and you know the higher ups have been asking to speak with me, and because they want to know like what was my experience with them. And I was like, okay, but if there's nothing to tell, there's nothing to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we upset about if there's nothing to tell?
Right.
But it's the fact that you guys are not operating in an efficient way, and the turnaround time at this job has been so high. In the last 8 months, there were 3 people that quit, and 1 girl quit the same day I quit. I didn't even know she was quitting. I got the call 8:00 at night that she had turned in her letter the same day I turned in my letter. She called me and said, they said you conspired with the other girl so that you guys could quit on the same day and leave the team high and dry.
But y'all fired me too. Y'all fired me this day.
Correct. So how would I know? How would I conspire with someone to quit on the same day as me? Like, you guys are losing it over there.
Losing it.
And it's becoming more and more evident with the games. So anyway, I'm not here to bash anyone's company or anything. I just learned a valuable lesson because I feel like we have to go where God calls us to be and really thrive, which is why we're back doing our show, because we know our gifts, like, and what we were called to do in this life. And I just felt like even when I was there, and I'm sure you can relate to this in corporate, like, you feel like you're suppressing your true self every day. And I just learned I'm not a person that can do that. For
me, I think that's the part that you missed in this experience was my corporate life experience. The longest stint that I had a boss that was really supportive. It was the people that I worked with.
Same.
So I was able to do the workaround and be like, look, this is what's going on. I don't know who you need to talk to. Talk to her, talk to this, but I don't like X, Y, and Z. And he would assist. Whereas it sounds like you were having opposition from all angles.
So that was my biggest thing. I think the woman that hired me, I really respect her hiring me, first of all, because let's be honest, I didn't have all the qualifications to be in that job.
Yeah.
So I respected the fact that she took a chance on me and was like, okay, I see that there's some skills. There's some skills and some, some things that you have that would be valuable to our team, right? And so I appreciated that. However, I think that, and this is, hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. I don't know. But all I'm saying is some people are built to be leaders and understand leadership and management, and some people don't. And I feel like... Because
you manage people, you don't manage
that's correct.
The job.
And I feel like if people are not... the people on your team or the people that you're managing are not operating in integrity and are doing like a lot of backdoor stuff or whatever the case may be, then you as the leader have to be the person that says, hey, let's have a group meeting.
Yep.
Let's have a conversation.
Some of these things out and figure out what's going on.
And let's be direct and let's figure out what's going on. Because I hate when people try to and it was a lot of gaslighting. It was a lot of like, we're all professionals. Like, we should all be able to sort through our own stuff. And it's like, no, if you're trying to undercut me at work and trying to make it seem like I'm incompetent at work, I don't appreciate that. And what's interesting is when I left, I heard that they were like, oh, wow, Laurel left and she wrote this letter. Like, she just always seemed so quiet to us. Like, she just seemed quiet. Like, I'm shocked. You thought I was quiet, and the perception of me was quiet because I did not feel comfortable in any of those rooms at all. So yeah, I'm an extrovert, right? Like, if you ask anybody that's been around, like, they're gonna be like, Laurel, quiet? What? I was always quiet because I didn't know what I was walking into or what was being said behind my back or what the conversation, like, that's not a good feeling. So no, I'm not going to feel like I'm going to bring my ideas and bring my, my expertise and the things I do know here because it doesn't seem like it's welcome here. And also the leadership is piss poor and I'm just calling it what it is. And so, I don't want to bash anyone and this is not that, but what I do want to say is that there are, to the people out there that are experiencing similar things and you're in a space where you're like, yo, this job is draining me to my core, I would encourage you to look at like your finances and look at, what you can afford to do that can help you with that. Because I think that was the biggest thing for me. I was afraid to leave because I didn't want to take a financial hit because the money was great. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, this extra money and I'm able to do this. I'm able to pour into my business. But let me tell you something. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I don't know no one will ever know what it profits a man because it would profit him nothing.
That's the answer. Nothing.
And so for me, I just felt like, yo, I'm getting this money, but I am coming home miserable. And I'm miserable.
And now I'm in a bad mood and I have to interact with my family and be a spouse.
I'm irritated.
I'm
irritated.
It's hard. It's
like,
definitely
don't
hard.
ask me what's for dinner because I don't know.
Tears.
Tears are for tears. And a side of snot. Like, I don't have it to give, and that's not a good feeling to feel like, I don't want to come home and interact with nobody. Like, I just don't, you know what I mean? So, and I know that Greg, it was hard for him to have to deal with that all the time because as I was coming home every day, I know as a husband, you're like, yo, I really don't even know what to do. I don't know how to support her in this. And I don't know what the answer is because of course he's thinking the same thing I'm thinking, which is that walking away from it does take this financial piece away. But honestly, again, my peace of mind and sanity has become so important to me. And that's not to say that finances are not, but I don't want to see myself deteriorate at the cost of $1. And everybody at that job, if I'm being honest, and in a lot of jobs, they were not happy. They don't seem happy. They don't seem like they have joy.
I think generations past, like, people didn't seem happy to me. Like, okay, there was happiness there as far as like the family structure, but there, like when we talked about dreams before, it's like, no, the dream was you go to school, if that, or you learn a trade, you work 40 years, you get married, you
get your
die.
401k,
you get your 401k and you die.
Yeah.
And Rashad talks about this all the time because, he worked at a job before for 11 years.
Wow.
And so he said it was so many people. One guy was there since like the 70s.
Wow.
And he said he had finally retired and only lived 2 years and died.
Wow.
And it's like that's your whole life gone that you dedicated to a job. And then you're like, okay, finally, now I get to live. And you live 2 years. Like, as a believer, and, I've always been a believer, but now I'm a believer that actually reads the word and like, what does God say?
Yeah.
And right now, we've been studying Ecclesiastes. This
Yo,
is actually my third time.
I was just about to say that.
This is my third time reading Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes for the first time in my life. Ecclesiastes is a book of the Bible that I read the first time I read it.
Cover to cover. I mean,
cover to
chapter
cover.
to chapter, I should
I
say.
was salivating because it was like,
you were what?
Girl,
not salivating. You're stupid.
I said, King Solomon wrote that because
he did his big one.
He did his big one because it spoke to me in such a way that like the whole point of the book, it says everything is meaningless.
Yeah.
And it starts like that. And I'm like, what do you mean everything is meaningless? And it even talks about, wisdom and folly and working.
Chasing after the wind.
Yep. And it's like, you live a life of work and toil for somebody else to enjoy. And that's not your portion. That's not what God has for you. It says the best thing that God has for you is obviously you want wisdom, but also to live a life full of happiness, full of joy, and that you find something that a job or work that is enjoyable, and that you're able. That's like the blessing
of life,
and the blessing of life. And it's just like everything is meaningless. That doesn't mean don't be ambitious.
No,
but it's like. I was watching the Club Shay Shay interview with the vegan, the funny guy.
He's a vegan?
Yeah, he's a vegan.
Country Wayne. That was a great interview.
And he was talking about if I can't get 8 hours of sleep, and if my day I'm ripping and running, that's not of God. The opportunity is not of God.
Yeah.
Like what God is providing for me, I'm going to be able to be a father to my kids. I'm going to be able to be rested. I'm not going to be irritable. And I'm going to be able to turn my attention to whatever that thing is in totality and not feel drained.
Yeah. And you know what? That man, Ecclesiastes, man.
I love that book.
I wrote I did a whole video on that, and it was like a funny video, but I was so serious when I was reading that during that time, being at that job. I'm like, yo, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like, and Greg, he be trying to discredit Solomon. He like, well, they said Solomon wrote that at the end of his life. He wasn't well in the mind when he wrote it. I said, no, he was well in his mind.
Oh, God.
Don't try to discredit.
He wrote Proverbs, too, and he did good with Proverbs.
And he was the wisest man.
And he was the wisest man
and he
ever.
asked God for wisdom. So I'm going to trust it.
And it gave me insight into... Yes, I have dreams and goals, but what really is the goal?
Correct.
What really is
Correct.
I told you I start serving at my church for the first time on Sunday.
Child.
But it has called things out of me that like, okay, my ultimate goal and all the gifts and talents that God has given me is only to bring people to Him.
That's right.
That's the only purpose.
That's correct.
So even in me doing hair and me doing makeup, like when they come in, it's gospel playing on the speaker, and I'm ministering to them through what my gifts are, no matter what it is. So if I'm in a place, not to say you can't minister to them, but like, am I of service to God in this moment?
Correct.
What am I? And so God also. People get confused.
What?
Money is not evil. The love of money is evil.
That's correct.
God blesses you also with a life that
is abundant.
That's abundant.
Correct.
And God wants to bless you. But He said without painful toil, which means I don't have to twist myself into a wall.
Correct.
To have enjoyment of life.
Yeah. It adds no sorrow.
It adds no sorrow. God wants to bless me. And He wants to bless me for His name's sake. That was another thing. That I was like, you hear that all the time. It's like, for His namesake. What does that mean?
You want to be blessed so you can be fly out here.
Yeah, but for His namesake is, I trust Laurel.
Correct.
Laurel is a faithful servant of mine. She represents me everywhere she goes. For my namesake, I'm going to bless her so abundantly. So when other people look upon her, they're like, wait a minute. What's this?
They see
you
him.
glowing.
And then I can say,
no, did you serve God? You serve a God like my God. Guess what?
You're gonna get
Range Rover.
Guess what?
Guess what?
Pocketbook, coin.
Pocketbook,
coin purse,
Publix sub,
Zelly sauce on it. Like you can upgrade, you can get a combo meal.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like,
I got you.
But you see people and it's like, oh yeah, girl, I got a scamming credit
never
card,
sustain.
And it's like, all right, let me.
Sustain.
It's like, no, when you see me, that's why now I'm in a place where I don't get upset at delay or what seems like delay, because I'm like, God, in your timing, because whatever you have for me is 1,050 times better than whatever I can think of.
And still to this day, I feel so much peace because I really surrendered everything that I want or desire or that I'm working on. It's even, and I'll just go ahead and say it, like idolatry and like making your business an idol in your life. Because
that's serious.
You seriously think, yes,
that's
like
serious.
you're making this business or you're making social media an idol in your life because you feel like that is the thing that's going to produce fruit.
Yeah.
And that is where your
sometimes you don't even realize you've made something an idol. Yeah.
And God has convicted me about that so much to the point where I'm like, no, I want everything that God has for me, but it does not come above him.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not going to, if I have to shut it all down, even when it came to fasting, like we fasted at the beginning of the year, and like I'll come off of social media, and it's like I'm a social media influencer and content creator. That's where your meat and potatoes comes from. But there's times where I'm like, if you don't get a post out of me in a week or whatever because I need to spend time with the Lord, then that's just what it is. Because I know that he'll give me that time back. He'll give me, there have been times where I've been off of social media and I've gotten my biggest opportunities where I'm like, whoa, where did this come from?
It shows faithfulness to him.
Correct.
God is the giver. It's not the person, place, or thing.
That's correct.
I got hung up on that sometimes where it's like, oh man, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. And it's like, no, whatever God says is for me, no matter what. And that's another phrase, just like gaslighting sometimes. People say it so much, or like boundaries. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, what are you even saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing where it's like, whatever God has for me is for me.
Correct.
It's already mine.
It's already done.
It's already done.
Let me tell you what blessed me to that point. What blessed me so good, and I was telling Giles and I was telling Greg about this the other day. I was reading Romans. Romans chapter 4 literally says the promise comes by faith.
Yep.
That struck me over the head. I'm talking about like monkey club right upside the head.
And that's the difference why people never got to see their dream.
Because the promise comes by faith.
That's profound.
You don't have the faith to receive the promise.
That doesn't mean the promise is not there.
Faith.
Yeah.
So that literally struck me because I'm like, you don't have the faith to believe that the promise is coming to you, and that's why it's never arriving. It doesn't arrive when you're like wallowing. It doesn't arrive when you're worshiping it. That's not where it comes. It comes by faith. You have to have the faith. And honestly, like, you know, you talked about getting married and just, you know, the faith that it takes to get to the finish line of a wedding. When we were planning our wedding, I was in faith constantly. I was like, the promise is that we're going to have this wedding and it's going to be beautiful. And that may seem small to some people. However, we were in a pandemic. So after getting shut down, after you've planned this wedding, and it's like you don't know when the venue's going to open back up or any of this stuff, I said, by faith, we are going to have everything that we need. We're not going to owe anybody anything. The venue's going to open back up. We did that by faith. And the promise came by faith that it was going to come to pass. But we didn't know anything. We were still planning. I was still buying stuff for this wedding and did not know if the world was going to open back up again at all. We were going to get married April 4th, 4/4/2020. We had to cancel that because the pandemic hit right then. And then we didn't get married till June 20th. And I didn't know if it was even going to happen, but I remember being on my knees like, Lord, he showed me the vision of Greg and I at the altar, like almost to the T of how it happened. And I said, why would he show me this if it is going to, and I had to have the faith to believe it, even when it looked like it's not going to happen. So I often go back to that.
And even talking about career-wise, you know, something that just happened for me, career-wise, that was a major.
The folks don't know.
Okay, the folks don't know, so let me tell the folks.
Y'all, Raina doing big things out here, so
yes,
call her up while you can.
The books are open, but who knows? So a couple of years ago, I did someone's makeup. Who put me in contact with an executive producer for Georgia Public Broadcasting. And I ended up doing her makeup. And I kind of put that bug in her ear, like, hey, if anything ever comes up, I'm your girl. Keep me in mind, you know. So that was like 2021, I think.
Yeah.
And every year, at the top of the year, I would send her my portfolio, like in a DM, like, hey, just in case you forgot.
Got to.
Anyway, just, you know, I do that anyway. I do a lot of cold emailing, cold whatever, because it's like, you never know. So around the holidays, right after Lowe's birthday, she reached out to me and said, hey, you know, I have an opportunity coming up at the top of the year for a makeup artist for a divorce court, season 26. Would that be something you'd be interested in? I'm like, yes, girl. Mind you, I just had my son. I'm sitting in the room with the blinds. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Trying to figure out what the next move is. Hello, darkness, my old friend. But literally, so I didn't know what, you know, it was looking dark. You know, you tell yourself like, okay, what does this look like for me now? So of course, when the opportunity, I was like, yes, okay, cool. I get on a phone call with her, and she's telling me all the things about the show, what I'll be doing, what the day is going to look like, the schedule. I'm just eating it up on the phone. And actually, before we hung up, we were at the tail end of the conversation. She goes, you know, you're a part of the union, right? And I said, oh, no, ma'am, I'm not. She goes, oh. And I don't know if she did that, but that's what it gave. Oh. And she's like, well, actually, this is a union only opportunity. And so what's happening now a lot in the film, TV and film industry is that after the strike, they're giving first dibs to jobs to union members.
Workers, yeah.
Which understandably so, they deserve it because a lot of them went a long period of time without work and without income. But I was like, dang. So then she goes on to tell me, okay, now I can't have the opportunity anymore. And do I have a referral? Because they're pressed for time.
So not only are you not going to give me the job, you're going to ask me to refer someone else.
I was hurt. And I said, okay. And I said, well, I actually do know someone, which I did. This girl named Tiffany. Tiffany, if you see this, it could have been you. But no, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Got you next time.
You working, girl. I see you. You working.
You right.
I got you,
girl.
But I did know someone, and so I got off the phone. I cried, and I called Rashad, and I was like, baby, because he knew I was hyped for the conversation.
Get the job, yeah.
And so anyway, but then I had a moment, right? And maybe about 4 years ago, I had started looking at the process to join the union. And then I got distracted. I had kids. And so if you know anything about the union, it has to be within a 3-year window that your credits are viable. So now I've been out the game because I done had these kids. I haven't been working like that as far as film and TV work. And so anyway, I sat there in my room and I said, okay, God, this is one of two things. Either this is an opportunity where you put in front of my face, don't lose sight of what your vision is.
Yeah.
I'm letting you know, don't forget the goal that you had. Even if this opportunity is for me to bless someone else and give them the alley-oop, maybe this is an opportunity for her. But it lit a fire under me to be like, all right, let me get what I need again for the union, because this will never happen to me. Let me get my stuff together.
Yeah.
Let me not get lost.
And that's a word in itself, because sometimes you ask God to do stuff for you and you're not ready.
You're not ready.
Because you don't even have your ducks in a row.
So I said, okay, God, I receive that. I said, or the job is really mine. And this is a test of my faithfulness. Or potentially it's for me.
It's for me.
So, that same day, I called a good friend of mine, Marquise Ward. Shout out to Marquise.
Hey, Marquise, you've been killing it on Miss Cheryl.
Yes, he's a
killing it.
Very great makeup artist. He's located in LA now.
Yeah.
But one of the main clients he has is Cheryl Lee Ralph. So anyway, I reached out to him. We got on the phone call, and I'm like, that's what they doing, man. They said I can't get the job. And he's like, no. Ask them for a waiver.
Period.
And I said, and that's another thing. Relationships are important too,
they are.
Because people give you some insight on some stuff that you don't know.
Yeah.
So long story short, I'm bugging this lady, not bugging her, but I was persistent, and I said, hey, this is my last time. I'll leave it alone after this. But is it possible that they're gonna give me a waiver? I really like this opportunity. I would hope that my work speaks for itself. I would hope that the union credibility wouldn't be the thing that would, knock me out of the options. She said, yeah, I already presented your case, and I don't think they're going to budge on it. But, I'll keep you in mind for future projects. So I said, okay, God, I release it, and I sent her the girl's referral.
I release it.
And then I told Laurel this. I literally, the next day, I was in the room with my kids, y'all. I had my son on my hip, and my daughter was on the bed, and we were dancing. We were listening to Ty Galbraith and Tasha Cobbs Leonard.
Okay.
Fear is not my future, whatever.
Ooh, that's my
we had it on the TV, and we were dancing around the room. But before I played that, I was praying, and I said, God, let them break protocol on my behalf.
No. That right there.
Yeah. I said, Lord,
break
protocol on my behalf. I said, I know what they're saying that I need. But God, if it be your will, because now I don't want to be outside God's will, because that's
I don't want to overstep.
I don't want to overstep. I don't want to interstep. You remember that? Hustle Man. I don't want to interstep.
But you know what's interesting to that point?
Yeah.
Even Jesus prayed that.
Yeah.
Jesus said, Lord, take this cup from me
if
it's your will.
Yep, if it's your will.
If it's not,
then okay. Because you got to be okay with.
I just got to ask one last time before I get on this cross.
Because it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Jesus didn't say that.
Lord, I'm sorry. Forgive her, God.
Oh, my God.
Crazy.
But I literally prayed that. Okay, so now we're dancing around the room. I'm finding acceptance in the situation. It's like, okay. Y'all, my phone started ringing. No word of a lie. My phone started to ring. It was the lady came up on my phone. And I answered. I said, hello. She said, hey, this is so-and-so. I said, yes, ma'am. I know who this is. She said, are you sitting down? I said, no, but I can be.
Yeah.
Shout out, threw that baby in the bassinet. Hold on.
I'm done.
And I went outside into the hallway, and she's like, "You got the job." I started to sweat. I was jumping up and down.
Child.
And she said, yeah, after you text me yesterday, I went back one last time. And that's why persistence is important too, because sometimes,
if you give up, it's just like, all
yeah,
right,
you have to believe in yourself. So she's like, I went back one last time. And she said, as I was talking to the union rep, somebody walked in the room that knew who you were and vouched for you.
Us.
And I said, who? And she told me the person who I had worked with for years, Laurel and I worked with for years, on other things, other projects, and just so happened she works at Georgia Public Broadcasting. She just so happened to walk in the room and literally like vouched for me, and I was able to get the job. And I'm like, man, and that's another prayer, like, man, put people in place that's supposed to bless me.
That's gotta vouch for you.
That's gonna vouch for me. Just like
when you don't even know it. They're just
they're
literally just speaking your name like, oh, I know her. Yep. She does great work. Yeah.
Yep. That's like Daniel when he was in prison. Joseph, I mean. It was one of them. Guys. Read the Bible.
Don't misquote the word now.
Wait, no word.
Look, I'm waiting to see who you said.
Daniel, no. Jezebel. No, I'm kidding.
It was
Joseph. When he was in prison, and the cupbearer and the other one was in prison with him, and he said, when you guys get out, talk to the king about me. Tell him I can decipher the dreams or whatever. Yep. And they said, all right, we got you. And they never did it. Yep. And then the king had a need where he needed a dream to be interpreted. And then the cupbearer was like, oh, there's a guy you have in prison. Yep. That's the kind, I need people that's in place that be like, oh, I know a girl that does PR. I know a girl that can help you with your social media and your branding. I know a girl that'd be perfect for your brand trip to represent your brand or whatever. You have to pray over yourself with those things. Like, be specific. Yep. Especially when it comes to career.
And I think sometimes, like, I always laugh at those videos where it's like, this can't be the job that I prayed and fasted about.
Like, somebody said, I listened to gospel music the whole way to the interview and I still didn't get the job.
Like, this cannot be the job that I prayed and fasted for. But I think that it's some stuff, and this just hit me just now. Some stuff is just for us to practice our faith. Yes, practice exercising our faith. Because I think about that job and I was trying to get revelation from it. And I'm like, God, why did you even allow me to have it if it was going to be so awful? Yep. And I just gathered so much of it. And one, it was an exercise of faith, like believing on that level to get that type of position and to make that kind of money and seeing that it was possible.
Qualified too.
And the other thing was just understanding that God is not going to make something comfortable for you to stay if you're not intended to stay. If I would have gotten so comfortable in that role, I would have never come out of it with the fresh wind for my own business and be like, nah.
Like,
no. I gotta get my affairs in order because there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this again. And I think he had to give me that experience to be like,
I'm gonna give you what you want, but it ain't what you want.
Yeah, it's like okay, it's like you want to jump into the ocean and your parents are like, nah, like it's too deep, and you're like, okay, go ahead.
Wow, I hope they was still
go on and jump then.
The undercurrent.
Go on and jump. You want to go to the ocean? Go on ahead and jump.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah, you want to you want to see a volcano? Go on ahead. Like,
oh God,
like it's just that type of like parent chastening their child or just allowing their child to have those experiences. Yeah. And so I hope you guys really, really enjoyed this episode. We wanted to really talk about life changes and transitions because there's so many people out there that are going through similar things, and it's nice to talk about it, right? And to relate. So if you can relate to this episode or you know somebody that can, send it to somebody, drop a comment below. Make sure you're subscribed. As always, we love talking with y'all. We love laughing with y'all. Yeah. And we hope y'all have a blessed week. And tune in next time for another episode of Art of the Funny Girl Podcast. Do the big K bounce.